This is the 30th anniversary of Pokemon. This year we'll be running through the entirety of all the Pokemon generations to pit them together to see what generation stands alone and scores the highest. Today, you better sound the trumpets, because Hoenn, Generation 3, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire are on the docket. And you're probably thinking, how are these games getting scored to be tiered? Well, throughout the review, we'll be discussing 10 separate categories covering things such as gameplay, performance, story, features, and overall game structure. Of course, we'll have our regularly scheduled nonsense, but when do we not? The better question is, will Hoenn sink or swim against Johto and Kanto? You know, the two we covered already. We're kicking things off in a moving van? Are we that worthless that we have to share the same space with our luggage? Where's the mother? I need to ask why she cares so little about her son. Oh, because the father ain't around. She shared the front seat with a ripped-ass Machoke, who is now Machoking his chicken. Great family we got here. Where's the father in all of this anyways? On TV? This literally is the only game that even has a father, which, you know, it's at least a unique character contrast, which is always appreciated. And instead of picking a starter off the counter, we get to save the professor from, Poochyena. How you gonna be the professor of Pokemon if you're gonna be afraid of a Pokemon you're studying? I mean, the choices are as hard as they've ever been. Unlike the past starter trios, the Grass-type Trico, the Fire-type Torchic, and the Water-type Mudkip are all great starters to choose from. But I have to go with the original I chose, Mudkip. Yes, yes. Can't pick up Mudkip without doing the obvious joke. I guess I like Mudkips. Fuck, this is so cringy and forced! Being on the Game Boy Advance, a lot of upgrades have hit. Everything is in full color, the music and sounds have been leveled up, but the technology guy can only flaunt the PC? Dude, we've been able to use the PC in that way for years. Get with the program, come on. Because of these upgrades, things stick out a lot more. The sprites, flowers, and even the map on the wall. Doesn't that look kind of sus to you? Like 18 years early sus? Apparently, all these upgrades are so much better that this guy blocks our path because he wants to draw feet. Turns out, he was sketching his own feet. So, hey, you do you, I guess. I still get PTSD helping Wally catch his Ralts. Every time it happens, I get flashbacks. You think all the stories of the Ralts being shiny, or the Poochyena that harassed Birch being shiny was bad? Imagine seeing the fucking Zigzagoon that Norman gives to Wally being shiny. Dad, you're telling me you have no time or money to help us move, but where did you get the red Zigzagoon, you cheating dick? I'll remember this one. Maybe I can get money from this kid, seeing as he'll actually give me enough for beating him. Thanks for being honest. I'll collect that bounty. It's new for the antagonist to show their face this early, but here they are. Team Aqua, you know, or Magma and Ruby, attacks this dude because they want to steal the equipment he's holding. But if you know me, I don't take that shit lying down. Making quick work of people like him is my MO, so it ain't a problem helping out. And starting with Mudkip is scoring dividends because Lochte washes out everything in Roxanne's gym. Sorry about the water damage, lady, but you make it too easy. Already I'd be playing this game and it feels so much better than the two Game Boy generations. That should be obvious because it's a more advanced system. And I mean that loosely, and no, the pun was not intended. But why and how does it perform better so far? That's what's being focused on throughout this lead up to Brawly. The Devoncorp dude can't seem to catch a break here. Attacked in Petalburg Woods, attacked again. This time, Aqua actually gets away with the Devon goods. Not only that, but he steals a Pokemon from an old man, his Wingull? There ain't anything special about it, you're just doing that to scare or piss people off. And you pissed off the wrong guy. I'd say sorry, but I don't sympathize with assholes, dog. After all that, we're granted two things. Another Great Ball from the Devon guy, and Mr. Briny's ship. Why is a ship necessary? Don't rush me, I'll get to that. That reason is because Devoncorp wants me to deliver a letter to Stephen Stone in Dewford, and the recovered goods to Slayport. That's a lot of distance to cover, and that's why we need the ship to travel to those destinations. Can we even trust this corporation, though? What are their scientists even researching? being able to understand Pokemon. Don't stare at me that way. Seeing the dreams of Pokemon? I'm not sure how that's useful. What would that even accomplish? What else did they try cooking up here that didn't work? What's in here? Oh, no. What kind of whack jobs do you employ here to do that on company time? Now that we're so very far away from that building, we can finally start heading off to Dewford. Bryony, I can't catch up to you. If I could run in buildings in this game, I could. But the programmers made my shoes cinder blocks and doors. Hopefully nobody gets sick on a ship again. We good? Alright. Dewford, what you got for us? Apparently, Canadian fishermen. I wish I could say more about this place, but that's really it. This island is so small, it doesn't even have a Pokemart. Means that when I struggle against Brawly, I need to go back and forth for potions. All the while, hope that Bryony doesn't throw up while we move it. But so far, the gameplay seems much more fluid, with a lot of quality life fixes added in the process. These are things such as better graphics, battling seems to go by much more quickly, running shoes, a lot of positive to takes from this. Losing the day and night cycle kind of blows, but with game batteries dying, a common thing with Generation 2 games, you know, I kind of understand. I mean, the game batteries can die in Generation 3 games, but they don't kill the save file in the process. I think this could be one of the few times you can give the overall gameplay a 10, but at the same time, I gave the previous generations a rather high score, so if I didn't, the consistency wouldn't make a shred of sense. Brawly, on the other hand, brings something else that makes no sense. Why is it that when NPCs or opponents online try to boost their evasion, their Pokemon becomes absolutely unhittable, dodging every single attack? Even if I tried Aerial Ace, I'd miss. But when I try, it's like they have a fucking sniper rifle scope attached to their Pokemon, hitting it almost every damn time. Did you get the scopes from Norman, you cheating dick? It's all that deadbeat father wants to do. Make my life miserable. Whatever, I guess. I just wanted Vega to gain experience, but no, make Lochte more overleveled. You're a damn killjoy, Brawly. Not only is the gameplay flowing better, but so is the battle in itself. So many additions and changes that make battles have more factors without making it too confusing. Abilities add in depth, and small tweaks here and there, and you have yourself a battle system that was a good stepping stone to what it is today. But with all the twists and turns on our way to Wattson, can that claim hold up? Now that we have most of Dewford behind us, all that's left before we leave this primitive island is delivering the letter to Steven. It shouldn't be that hard to get through this cave to reach him. I can't see anything again! I know it's the lack of power on the GBA, but seeing what they did in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire truly showed what he was doing back here. In Gen 3, it just looks like an anti-sensory space for him to hide. One half delivered, and the other half is delivered to Slayport. Well, would have been, but surprise, surprise, we get ambushed by Team Aqua. I mean, what else were they on the lower floor for? A nice fish dinner? Anyways, these two simps don't have a chance against me. What? You heard me. Even Archie agrees and calls them the same thing. Who wouldn't over Shelly? It's a damn beautiful woman right there. Slayport is your usual coastal city. A port, a beach, an 8-foot lighthouse. Wait, how the hell are you supposed to help alert ships being that short? What else is there? Seasick sailors who haven't yet thrown up? People acknowledging my scorching hot self? Not being able to buy soda pops in bulk? The guy that runs the trick house slamming his head on the other side of the table? Buying 15 harbor mails? Ah, not again. I can't be the only one that always had issues with this battle against May, right? You said that Whitney wasn't difficult, but you're complaining about this? That is unbelievable. You are such a sorry... What was that? Mind you, you're facing normal types in Whitney's gym, but here, I have the absolute worst matchup against her Grovyle, as Lochte is quad weak to its grass type moves. Fine, okay. With a little bit of heat, elbow grease, and a little bit of Kaze action, we're able to break through May after like the 7th attempt. Yeah, you read his nickname right. There's a comma in front of my Taylor's nickname. And finally, we can reach Mauville City, where the third gym battle takes place. Still a lot of work to do, though. I didn't say it was clean work, did I? Wally gets put in his place, yet he still gives me a strange look. Is it all these harbor mails I bought? Did you think I meant to buy super repels? F***ing it up buying water-themed letters again? No, this is how you get the coin case. So the joke ain't on me. Okay, so it is now. Game Freak, come on, it's 2003 at this point. Why are we limited bag space still? It's impractical as all hell. Want to know what is practical? The battling. I hinted at it at the start, but adding passive abilities to Pokemon brings a new element to the matchups. Just look at Vega, for example. If she gets inflicted with any status moves, the opponent gets struck with the same status. It's these small, useful changes that help battling. Nature's being added means that you can adjust your stats so they can go all gas towards one specific stat. Want more attack? Adamant nature. Special attack? Modest. Speed? Jolly or timid, depending on the attack category. Which unfortunately, those are kind of stuck to specific types at the moment. You can't win them all. Unless your name is Thresh, because, you know, Wattson ain't got a chance against the likes of me. He had to figure out my tactics by, you know, subscribing. Then he'll know a master's techniques. Those battle techniques are a bit limited by the battle system, but overall it's a massive improvement from the Game Boy era, earning it at 8 out of 10. Shocking, ain't it? Could Generation 3 have arguably the best Pokedex and available Pokemon yet? I mean, so far, leading up to the Laverage Gym, we've seen improvements to the available Pokemon, strange matchups, and decent balance of new Pokemon scattered about Hoenn. It's got a chance, but how will it fare once we hit the halfway point? Anyone understand why there's always amusing NPCs in Pokemon? Like, what kind of compliment is this? Disgustingly good? I guess I'd call the best generation nauseatingly fantastic then. Also, unless I say no, this old lady won't let you leave. Almost like you are trapped in her game.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
No, lady, you've healed them up enough. Any more and they probably explode. And then there's Gabby and Ty, the interviewers who you'll likely take out back and massacre their Pokemon in one turn. After all that, we have one word to describe our feelings about the battle. To which I said it was hard. Should be a good watch when that shows up on TV, right? Fall Arbor Town is pretty uneventful. Just a bunch of random houses, not giving anything worthwhile, really. Except, my interview is on? That was fast. He said it made him feel... What? I'm going back to find you and... Right. Running through ashes really racks up the allergies, but apparently a lot of people like collecting them. These twins are the shining example. Look how excited they are. Just as long as you stay away from my friend's urn. The real reason we're here is to meet up in Meteor Falls, west of the town, to find Team Aqua robbing the scientist blind of the meteorite he found. But that's where Team Magma comes in. Of course, if you're playing Ruby, the roles are reversed. But for the sake of everything moving forward, I won't mention the events of Ruby. Here, their organization is meant to thwart Team Aqua from expanding the seas. They like the land, and they want to keep the status quo. Kinda interesting when in Emerald they both are the evil team, but they always get in each other's way. What? I didn't say I wouldn't mention the events of Emerald, did I? But off to Mount Chimney they go to push the volcano into an inactive state. It isn't long before the summit is reached. If only every cable car can move at breakneck speed. Like yours truly. Arriving puts us at a nice view of Maxie's Poochyena working overtime. You better give that dog lots of love after this, or you're tumbling face first down this jagged pass. You know that, right? A quick disposal of the grunt and the Aqua admin. Put a shirt on, bro. You ain't impressing anybody. Leads to Archie pleading his case on why expanding the sea is so important. Well, as you can see, this is my flaming fist coming straight for your face. Okay, well that's Vega's shockwave instead, but the point still stands. The volcano remains somewhat active, Maxie commends us, but the battle rages on. Anyways, jagged pass. Oh, what the? Oh my! Oh, how steeper than it seems. Ugh. You know, maybe this would feel better if I wasn't a fire type. Blech. I thought going in the hot springs would help that fall, but I guess not. Let's just get out of here and get into the gym already. It's a fire type gym, so you know Lochtie's about to get a ton of work. You're asking me if my Pokemon can survive 392 degree heat? Really? Me? You're asking me of all things. But Flannery, she can take the heat for sure. She got shades of Whitney if you're not careful. I never dealt with Attract from her Miltank, since the Machop we used back then was always female. But Lochte can't seem to handle the curves of Flannery's Torkoal. I mean, just look at that shell. Yeah, unfortunately love hurts Flannery. As for the available Pokemon, like I mentioned at the beginning of this section, the type selection is vastly improved as it's what plagued Red and Blue, and I don't feel shoved in a box forcing to get certain Pokemon to progress. On top of that, a lot of the new Pokemon are featured from start to finish. At least, better than it was in Gold and Silver. In that game, it felt like the Gen 1 Pokemon were used as a crutch, but so far, there's enough Gen 3 Pokemon to stand out on their own. It's not perfect, of course, since certain Pokemon are still impossible to find, or found late. Yes, I'm talking about the Pseudos and Feebas, and being that late, it's almost impossible to get them leveled up without grinding like mad. It's not a perfect Pokedex, but it's improved one nonetheless, and that's why Generation 3 lands an 8 out of 10 for its Pokedex. You'd hope that, with the upgrade of the graphics, Hoenn would easily be the best region so far. I mean, that part isn't wrong, but more than just the graphics and landscape go into the region's score. There's the habitats, game progression, and linearity. I mean, hell, we saw Johto take a hit because the scaling kept f***ing up the progression. But Hoenn? It still has its faults, and one is about to take center stage. Or should I say deadbeat dad. Traveling back to Mount Chimney was already annoying enough, but back to Petalburg City? If you didn't know your way around Hoenn, it would have been an absolute mess. Should have just given us the HM for Fly to make it easier, similar to how we got the HM in Cianwood City back in Generation 2. Instead, we have to backtrack all the way through Mauville City, Rusturf Tunnel, Rustboro City, Petalburg Woods, to finally meet up with our deadbeat dad. Not only that, but the gym puzzle is lackluster as well. Beat these trainers that waste a turn using battle items. Wow, they used an X defend. That means Psyche, our Breloom, gets one extra turn kicking your ass. How difficult. Instead of spending time with mom, you're spending time stroking yourself on how good you are. Let me really show you how hard I can go. Damn it, Gabby and Ty, now you got me saying it. Forget it. Psyche, cut our father out of our lives. That family affair is over and done with, so now we can focus on the region. And like I said, this region's structure is what's gonna hold Hoenn back. I like the different habitats it has, with the mountains and all. The ocean, the island. Its tropical setting really stands out. Even the temperature really stands out. I need to take this off. But it can't save it from how much backtracking you have to do early in the game. You've gotta run through Rusturf Tunnel twice in the process, and don't get me started on the constant slog of the water routes. Those are fine in doses, but you can't repeatedly throw so many at us all at once. All a water route is a non-stop wild Pokemon simulator. You have to stock up on repels, or the Wingles and the Tentacles will not leave you alone. I want to rate Hoenn higher than this since the region is so visually appealing, but 7 out of 10 is the best I can do. I better stop this rant now before I say 7.8 out of 10 too much what. Fuck, I did it anyway. The music. We don't have to claim it's being held back by the Game Boy's 8-bit tech anymore, but that doesn't mean... I said that doesn't mean... Can you stop playing your trumpet over me? Holy shit, let me speak! I know that there's so many trumpets in the music of Generation 3, but that doesn't mean it should dominate every moment of Ruby and Sapphire. You know what? We'll discuss that improvement later here. Instead, we got to get to another long break in the action. Since more things are unlocked since the bike and certain HMs were acquired, there was a lot of clearing out to do. Such places as Cyclone Road, which you need a bike to enter. How the f did you get here on foot? The actual bikers aren't very helpful either. Riddle, 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 riddle.
Alright, I get it!
New Mauville, which is just a simple puzzle that you can get TM24 for Thunderbolt from Wattson. And finally across the water east of Mauville to see that... typical. The interskewers who skewed my words out of context. You want to know what I do to people like that? Wow, surprising. And the words I'm leaving for you two? You both are... nitwits? They really left that as the best insult in here? There really isn't much to say about the route leading to the next plot point. It's literally just tall grass, and when I mean tall grass, I mean you can't ride your bike through it. It's the only game that doesn't allow you to do that, which is pretty annoying. But arriving at the Weather Institute shows Team Aqua vying for rain once more. They want to flood the Earth, cause... reasons. Look, I'm not going to say they aren't bright, but at least Team Magma had a decent point, even though their idea was just as terrible. We're still riding high on the daycare spam, so we just trounced them straight out of the building, including Shelly. Man, I should have played the remakes. That Shelly was a woman and a half. This Shelly's just... boneless. Same with May, since now with more firepower on my team, she's the biggest pushover ever. And her team collapses like a stack of cards, which leads to the Fortree City arrival, which you still can't use your bike on the bridge either. The gym battle would be ideal, but something invisible blocks the way. Why doesn't anyone just try to shove the object instead of shrugging and walking away? Right. Plot. Because they ain't gonna just leave Steven hanging on the following route. With the Demonoscope in hand, we finally see it's a Kecleon. Bro, just shove him into the bushes next time! Now that we're in the gym, I can say that this generation was the birth of the gym puzzle. Sure, there were some of these in Johto and Kanto, but now it seems it's every gym at this point. You might start to have to leave comments and ratings for these puzzles the more advanced they get. Which, while I was just talking, Vega shocked all of Winona's flying types out the sky. You think the daycare is busted yet? It's basically a meme at this point. You can't talk about the music of Generation 3 without people bringing up the trumpets, or any brass instrument. As much as people joke about it, I actually think that it holds it back. It's on an updated system. Of course it should improve. Hell, even both Maxie and Archie actually have their own theme, unlike Giovanni and whatever Archer's supposed to be, not even being labeled. The problem is that with the overabundance of brass instruments, all the music blends together. They also still run into reused town themes, as Old Dale and Lava Ridge share the same theme, as does Lily Cove and Pacific Log. I mean, just give it a listen. Keeping it at a 7 out of 10 since it did improve, but it feels like it's still being held back. Wait a minute. Is that the interview I hear from inside this house? The trainer said that us two were tight-knit with great wit. That's not what I said! If I told you that Generation 3 holds the biggest new addition to the series, would you believe it? Its impacts are felt as late as... today, actually. The fact that you can say this about every new feature that was added from Generation 3 shows how absolutely pivotal this generation was to the series. I'd love to get the stone rolling, though, but why the f*** is there so much distance that has to be traveled so far to show it off? Can't even start this long journey without being stopped by the two interviewers who get their ass kicked so hard their cue cards scatter about. How about we end this whole charade once and for all? See what I mean? Just that hot! And now I'm not, cause this rain is putting my flames out. And that's not even the worst of it, because we're still not halfway there. There's more tall grass to get through, which at least they left us a path this time to walk through and bike through, more routes, more trainers, and a group of aqua grunts giving away their plans to raid Mount Pyre. Thanks for making your defeat that much easier. Even still, this journey isn't over because there's still 2 open slots in my team. And we now have access to the 2 locations of the Pokemon I want to use. You know what that means, right? Yeah, one of these generations is going to put a stop to this eventually. The thing about Team Aqua, and Magma for that matter, is they're kind of colorblind. At the top of Mount Pyre, once you get to its peak, Archie doesn't even take the blue orb. He takes the red orb for some reason. I'll explain why this is, and it's reversed in the remakes. In response, the couple gives you, a random trainer, the opposite orb. Again, for some reason. It's a lot of trust you put into someone that you don't even know. But with the red orb in hand, Aqua steals Captain Stern's submarine in Slateport and gathers in their Lily Cove hideout. Time for the usual kid raids an evil team's hideout without repercussions. Funny how the Pokemon universe plays this on repeat. The Lily Cove hideout is pretty simple once you get the hang of things. There are 2 paths to take. Both use teleporter pads to get around the hideout, which you shouldn't have a problem with. The first one leads you to the only Master Ball in the entirety of the Pokemon franchise where it's found on the ground, rather than being given to you. The other path leads to the waterway where the submarine sits, but it's being blocked by the Aqua admin Matt. You can defeat him as fast as you can, but it don't mean shit because all he's doing is stalling so Archie can escape. I would too if my admins looked like this. But the issue here is Archie can't be chased underwater. It would help if the HM for dive wasn't across the ocean in Moss Deep, but hey, what can you do? They didn't lie. There really is too much water, and I barely waded through the surface. There's still like 16 more water routes to go, and I'm already sick of it. I can't even turn my flames off because I'm so wet. Don't give me that look. I'm weak to water. At least the gym nears, which means getting the HM for dive isn't too far off. Well, I gotta make sure I don't miss anything beforehand. Thrash is someone worth subscribing to. He said he felt hot during the battle. And I gotta say, I agree. That much power is worth the follow. Holy fucking glaze. But to detour back to what I originally said at the start of all this, the gym shows off the new double battles. This battle type left such an impact that even the official competitive format runs this battle type. I wish Liza and Tate weren't the only gym battle to feature an actual stipulation though. Every other gym battle is a simple single battle, yet theirs is the only one to feature something different. Well, I mean, the battle result wasn't different. Huh, Gabby had a point. When I hit my stride, there's no stopping me. Sorry, twins, but I gotta go find a cavern and kick a pirate's ass. But even further beyond double battles, abilities and natures brought about another way a Pokemon's strengths in battle could be powerful. Just look at Pokemon such as Azumarill or Medicham, who are carried by their huge and pure power abilities respectively. Talonflame was made by its ability before it was turned to shit after it got nerfed. Same thing with Greninja and Protean. But on top of that, you can use natures to lean into a specific stat to really maximize your build. Really, Generation 3 optimized a lot when it came to Pokemon battling. Hell, even the quality of life updates were helpful as hell. The run and shoes are the best example, because now you ain't stuck getting on your bike every second. It sucks that they thought you couldn't run in buildings though, as if your shoes turned into concrete the moment you went inside. But altogether, I don't think anyone would argue giving a 10 out of 10 for all the new features that they added in Generation 3. That score looking pretty close to the high score now. Hope it doesn't get washed out by the final stretch. Is this really where shit hits the fan? Well, you could say that. After a pretty directionless plot in back-to-back generations, it's almost like the clouds parted after a heavy rain, and the sunshine finally shined on down. Okay, that's pretty fucking cheesy, but you gotta hammer home the game's impact, right? With 2 evil teams in play, with one acting like the Resistance, it's all gonna come down to this, which is more surfing. Now that makes sense though, since to get to the next 2 locations, the Seafloor Cavern and Zootopolis City, they both require surfing and the newly acquired HM, Dive, to which it looks like we're holding our breath indefinitely. Luckily, I know the path the pirates took their booty. The thing about Seafloor Cavern is, there really isn't as many Aqua Grunts as you'd expect in the final showdown. You actually find more strength and water current puzzles than grunts, or at least it feels like it. Shelly's here too, but I already told you to wake me up when she's way more attractive in the future. But as quickly as I explained how fast it took to get this far, we're already in the deepest part of the cavern. And that's where the dormant Kyogre lies. Finders keepers. I have the blue orb, dog. Oh. It ain't gonna be that easy, is it, pirate? Not even close. Because we gotta deal with this. It's a simple Mightyena. But instead...
Let's go gambling!
And instead of hearing...
Aw, dang it!
We hear...
I can't stop winning!
That isn't how it should work. But Callie goes down after rock smashing herself in the face. Kaze does the same, but luckily one of my Pokemon can actually focus for a turn to take down this sorry-ass Pokemon. And when you can't crutch on bullshit, your world comes crashing down. And that's the truth, because you know what happens next? Kyogre gets a nice stroll down memory lane of a very, very minor case of serious trauma. As a result, that world really does crash down as Kyogre rampages as a result of Archie's carelessness. All this is centered around the other location I mentioned earlier. Deep in the cave where all life begins, with the blue herb received from the place where life ends. But first, more surfing around, clearing out these trainers. Holy shit! The ocean is flooding! Not now, I'm kicking the shit out of this Wingull first. Priorities, man. Wait a minute, did you just say the ocean is flooding? Now, if I was any random trainer, they wouldn't let me step anywhere near the Cave of Origin. But because those elders on Mount Pyre trusted well, again, a completely random trainer, I guess the fate of Hoenn lies in my hands. We gotta come up with a strategy. This is a legendary Pokemon, so we have to be methodical on how we throw this Master Ball. What? Don't look at me like that. What were you expecting?
I don't know, something amazing, I guess.
But with that crisis cut short, Wallace and Steven are nowhere to be found. Touché. I was just expecting something amazing myself. We both take the L. So did Wallace, but that's not the point. The puzzle in Wallace's gym, though, it's a pretty good icebreaker for this next part. And down we go, deep into the facts about the plot of Generation 3. My biggest complaint from the past was that it felt there was no clear path bringing everything together. In Hoenn, the script is flipped, where it feels like Aqua and Magma are building to the point of showing the legendary Pokemon their own version of Nom.
Oh my god, it's Nom all over again. I'm out of here. Ah!
You find the evil team, whichever game you're playing, attempting to alter the landscape of Mount Chimney. But after that is where they hatch the plan to hijack the legendary Pokemon. From learning about the legendary's history at the Weather Institute, to taking the orb on Mount Pyre, stealing Captain Stern's submarine to finally reach the legendary. It culminates into something where you can finally defeat the admin, Archie or Maxie, to now you have to stop the legendary's rampage. And this is the first time in the series where they incorporate the legendary into the plot. This alongside your usual shtick of 8 badges and becoming Pokemon Champion, and I don't think anyone will argue with giving the plot a 9 out of 10. It's a completely reasonable motive by both evil teams, one to expand the sea to give more life to the Pokemon, while the other wants to expand the land to progress human civilization. Okay, that's only in the remakes, but the reasoning can still stand in the past just the same. It's time for the toughest trek through Generation 3. It's more surfing! IGN wasn't kidding when they used too much water as an excuse to give it a 7.8. There's just a lot of water routes with trainers to clear out. And if you've seen the last 2 generation recaps, having a route that only has one type of trainer with one type of Pokemon, the battles get old really fast. I literally cannot use Suzume without her falling into the ocean. The issue then is that I need to rebalance the levels by forcing Pokemon that don't have the best matchup in Victory Road later on. You'd think at least the NPCs would be amusing. I haven't even seen any that's given me a smirk still. This lady has a dirtbag of a boyfriend, to which I understand from my own in-game dirtbag dad. Even the dudes are full of themselves. Chiseled abs? In what reality does this look like having abs? For fuck's sake. At least the abandoned ship is here, so I don't have to deal with a revolving door of water types. Ah, right. It's still a boat. Let me just get Ice Beam and get the hell out of here. No, that's trash. That's bright and shiny trash. That's Thrash. He's a cool guy that you should totally subscribe to. And that's this dude's vomit in here. Here's where Ice Beam is. Finally, we can abandon ship to Victory Road, right? Right? Yeah, the trick house. I forgot to clear this out too. But finally, we can head to Victory Road. You know what that means, right? More of the water! Water's everywhere now. Where's it? How do I dry off? I'll just cut to the chase here. My levels are pretty on par with the trainers, so if I play my cards right, we can clear this cave pretty quick. It's not like we're gonna run into anything to slow us down, right? I can't see shit again! It's fine. It's not like anything else is gonna slow us down now. Right? Not only can I not see 5 feet in front of me, but also I can't attack without stepping on a rake in the process. Why do so many people in this damn cave have moves that confuse your Pokemon? If you have to rely on RNG to make a boss fight or a difficult stretch of the game harder, then you didn't plan it out right. Even when they don't use confusing moves, they move confusingly. The grass attack was right there, dude. Lochte would be floating upside down in the 7.8-foot water pool in here. Or did you also misclick a button in the dark? After all that wandering, it finally leads to a place where I can actually see where I'm going. Lo and behold, Wally's been waiting for me. To which, I gotta say, they did their homework between the generations. My complaints of the shallow character depth in the prior generations have nothing to say about Generation 3's characters. It's more than just the champion and the rival this time. And that's the thing about a compelling story. You need deep characters to tell this story. There's a reason why Giovanni and the unnamed admin fell flat, while Archie and Maxie excelled. They built the narrative around the game's plot that ended in fantastic fashion in Sutopolis. The gym leaders still don't get too involved, but some at least serve a purpose outside their gyms. But the real star is Wally here. When we all originally played, we all expected or Brendan, to catch up to you here for one final battle before the Elite Four. But what we didn't expect was the once perceived weak novice trainer Wally to meet us instead, giving us this final showdown. I mean, we still swept him, but the growth and confidence by Wally showing up instead shows the development behind Wally himself. With all this in mind, a 7 out of 10 score for the characters is where I think it should stand. I know it seems low from where I was hyping it up to be, and that's because the bar was so low from the past generations that, while this is an improvement, most of the characters' growth is still quite linear and standalone. But you have to give credit where credit is due. They're at least trying to make engaging characters now. Has Generation 3 really been that difficult? It's hard to say. For a majority of the game, I've been cruising along. The only time I ever ran into a problem was against May on Route 110, but that leaves only the Elite Four and the champion standing in the way. Nothing stopped me yet, but the difficulty will come down to this. If you've ever seen the 2 previous generations videos, I think you know the drill here. We gotta make it more strategic. I only have access to 1 revive the entire run, 2 potions against the Elite Four, and 3 against the champion. If they use any, that number goes up with however many they use. With that stipulation set, Hoenn Elite Four, get ready to be shattered. Sydney, the Dark-type Elite Four member. I think it's time you speak to Psyche. She's going to be great in this battle, although with Steven lurking at the end, I'm gonna need to keep her around as much as I can. Mighty Anna doesn't serve a purpose, other than intimidating her, but in comes Absol. Something's up. Why would a straight-up Dark-type come out now? I feel a Flying-type move coming, which is exactly what Callie takes. She doesn't take it too well, but, I mean, what else do I have? I don't have a Flying-type resist, and that's biting me in the ass. But I guess that's why at least I have Lochte as the tank. The issue with using him is that I know Sydney has grass types remaining. So back into Psyche I go. Clear out Cacturne. Clear out shit. Extra sensory coverage on Shiftry sounds like something that would be in a Generation 6 or 7 game, but in Generation 3? I better hope I can survive long enough to revive her when it comes time. It's not lost yet, because Suzume is here to clean up. We're really dealing with this nonsense again? Holy shit, let me off this crazy thing! We're not playing this game! Suzume! Come on! Like, you gotta break through confusion! He previously used Double Team, so having to hit the perfect line to actually hit his Pokemon is infuriating! Finally, his last Pokemon. It's pretty risky to throw Vega out here right now. She can handle this Surf, but this? Yeah, this is gonna be a common theme throughout this Elite Four run, isn't it? But Vega, she's not gonna fall for dirty tricks and completely electrocutes the Sharpedo. If this is the shit we're gonna have to keep running into, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. The battle against Phoebe was pretty seamless. Callie put a dent into her team early on, but then she started fighting back with status. Which is perfect because Kaze has Guts, which doubles his attack, but it's still not doing as much as I thought it would. This puts me into a bind. I need a safe switch into Lochte, but I'm not sure how I'm gonna do that without sacrificing someone. Hell with it. I looked ahead. Kaze doesn't really do too much against the remaining 3 trainers, so I sacrifice him to earn the victory. It might be a risky play, but bringing Psyche back for the Glacia battle might be the decision that turns the tide. It was! At first. But for some reason, Walrein outspeeds her? That definitely caught me off guard. At least she took down 3 other Pokemon with her, but the rest of Glacia's team ain't shit, so let's move on. What I need from Lochte here is an Ice Beam Sweep. Down to 4 Pokemon without a Revive remaining is not a good spot to be in, especially since I failed my first run in both Generation 1 and 2. It doesn't help either that I threw away Callie for nothing here. My thought process was that Shelgon lowering my speed with Rock Tomb was gonna bite me. Nope, in the end, Altaria is still faster. A few potions and a few Ice Beams later and... ran out of Ice Beams? Salamence flew up on my last use of the move. I've rarely, if at all, had to use an Ether mid-battle before, but this is a first. On the 30th anniversary, no doubt. But 1 Ice Beam crits, and we're on to the champion. What's been annoying about this run is the fact that this game isn't trying to make the Elite Four difficult for the sake of challenge and fun. It's doing the exact same thing we were doing in Victory Road, where it's difficult for the sake of being difficult. And that's the most unfun way to set up difficulty in a game. When strategy goes completely out the window, it doesn't become a game of skill. Instead, it becomes a game of chance. Boss fights should never be built on that factor. If you do that, you need to better your design and skills because that's nonsense. And luck should not be a pivot point on difficult battles. I ain't saying it should be a factor at all. I'm saying it shouldn't be the main crutch. Confusion in Victory Road and against Sydney. Paralysis and speed drop fishing during the rest of the Elite Four. Awful. Terrible.
Dreadful.
You want to know what a great design is for a boss fight? May, Route 110. That forces you to understand type matchups early on and what you need to prepare for, especially when you pick Mudkip as your starter. There's a reason why that battle in particular is notoriously known as difficult by the Pokemon community, but it's never scorned as annoying. A 5 out of 10 score for Generation 3's difficulty fits it perfectly. Outside of those 2 battles, nothing truly stands out. I mean, maybe the Norman battle, but the biggest strike against this score is crutching on luck in the Elite Four. Do better. 3 Pokemon versus Steven. Vega the Gardevoir, Suzume the Ninetales, and Lochte the Swampert. It doesn't really look good on paper, and this is where our first runs usually go to die. But damn it! Someone like me doesn't know when to quit. Ideally, I'd rather have Psyche over Vega, but relying on Lochte is our win condition. Ideally, I'd love to stay in on his Metagross right now, but we just use Overheat from Suzume, and I'm like 99% positive that an Earthquake is coming. It's his ace, so I'm going to need Lochte's tankiness to come in handy, which it does against Metagross and Aggron. Just Solar Beam for some dumbass reason? Don't ask me, like, why? Why didn't you switch into Cradily first? And why the f*** are you confusing me again? It's like a broken record at this point. Hell, in frustration, I accidentally used my second potion on Vega instead of Lochte, which means I have to sacrifice both Vega and Suzume just to get out of this mess. Why not? Confuse Suzume too. Tilt me off the face of the earth. It's not like I haven't broken anything yet. But I'm getting close to doing so. I I was within inches of breaking this rock to pieces. But she actually breaks out of confusion, takes down the Cradley, and now in her last breaths, burns Steven's clay doll. It's all on the shoulders of Lochte now. Two Surfs takes that down after he heals it, and thankfully Armaldo doesn't give too much resistance and falls right after that. For the first time, we've defeated the Elite Four in a single run. Glad I did, because f*** being confused! And that's the story of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. Is there anything more after this? Not really. Only the usual complete in the Pokedex remains. There is the addition of the Battle Tower, which isn't technically new. It appeared in the third game of Generation 2 Pokemon Crystal, but that's the lowest selling mainline game of all time, so I don't really think that counts. You can catch all the legendaries on top of that, but realistically, there's not much else to do. For the Battle Tower alone, the post-game deserves a 4 out of 10. Things go on for a little longer than Generation 1's post-game, and this doesn't hold a candle to Generation 2's, so I think that's a great spot to leave the rankings. Wait, there's more? Another interview? We're here with Norman to ask what he thinks about the new champion. That he's finally gonna change his mindset now.
He ain't shit. No son of mine would beat the champion, then give up his spot at the league.
Oh, come on, you deadbeat dad!
Word from Littleroot, Thrash has responded by saying he...
Nope, I'm not gonna hear whatever out of context bullshit you want to try to spin this time. This generation is over! Where does this put Generation 3 on the 30-10 tier list? If you add up all the scores together, you get a 75 out of 100 for Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. This puts it well into first place, which is a surprise, because for a long time I always considered Generation 2 as my favorite. But I guess time has changed that opinion. How would you rate this generation as a whole? You better leave me comments about that, because that's where we have a conversation, and debate about it, and fist fights, and trash talk if you want. But, you know, remember to keep that part civil. With Generation 3 at the top of the list, can it protect its space? Or will the other generations take the crown? Only time will tell.